Hello and welcome to the OrangeCast, where we talk about stuff.
Wow.
My name is Foster, and I am joined by a few friends today. Let's all introduce ourselves. Let's start, let's start with Claire. Claire, who are you? What do you do?
Hi, I'm Claire. I'm a art student and I like cats and memes.
Ooh! Good one.
Memes. Everybody likes memes. Ryan, who are you? What do you do?
I'm Ryan. I do art school stuff too, a little bit. What did I say last time? I think I said I'm a graphic design student and I like games. So I'm a graphic design student and I like music.
Changing it up. Theo, who are you and what do you do?
I'm a music major who plays a lot of games in Rocket League, but Rocket League is a game, so
Sick
just a
plot
lot
twist.
of Rocket League in general.
That's a fact. Zach, who are you and what do you do?
I'm Zach. I feel like you answered that.
Clean.
And I'm
But who
running
are
out of.
you in this soul?
I'm currently running out of things to say at this point. I have very few identifications, and
That's an
3 episodes
interesting twist. Who are we in regards to like the show? Is that what you were getting at, Foster?
Yeah, just like,
Ooh, that's a whole different
Right.
level.
but, we'll talk about that on the next one.
Yeah.
Right now we're going to move to our next segment, our first segment. That's called Cool Stuff. And then during Cool Stuff, we talk about cool stuff.
no way.
We will start with Claire. Do you have a cool thing that you want to share with the people?
My cool thing I was gonna share is that I got hired to work onto a documentary, and that's pretty
Hey!
cool.
Ooh, what's the documentary about?
It's about a maternal health program that's on the rise in Indianapolis. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
When is that supposed to come out?
It's a 2-year-long project, and it's about 6-7 months in, so about a year and a half.
Is it like private or is it through school?
It's that's an interesting question. I was hired through school, but it actually is a private thing, if that makes sense.
Oh, did they just like do like a job listing through the
Uh,
school?
I actually got like headhunted for it, which is kind of cool.
Oh, that's even cooler.
Yeah, so I got asked to do it. And
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Ryan, do you have a cool thing?
Yeah, my cool thing is not quite as like life-changing and dope. I was just gonna say, you guys know this already, but I just wanted to like put it on the record. I bought a guitar recently and like have been religiously playing it, and maybe I can speak to Theo with this. It's really nice to be like playing music again. If that makes sense, like working on theory stuff. I really miss it. We were all big ass band nerds in high school. And Theo's the only one who's like actively doing it, but it feels super good. I definitely miss it. So that's really cool.
That is a really cool thing. Theo, tell me what you got.
Mine is life-changing and amazing. I hit my first ever ceiling shot today in Rocket League, so I think mine is of
Are you
equal or
serious,
greater
dude?
value.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's pretty great, man.
Proud of you. Link in the description.
uh, Zach, what is your cool thing?
You better link a clip to my first ever shot.
I'm not gonna say
Send it
that
to me,
we're
dude.
not
I'll do
going
it.
to.
Yeah, okay, so on a previous episode, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 ago, but I had mentioned that I was in the process of job hunting and that I was kind of feeling good about one of them especially, and I found out since that I got the job, and I'm starting in 2 weeks.
Hell
So,
yeah, dude.
I'm looking forward to it. I know nothing about what I'm going into either. I'm going into annuities, which is a form of insurance, and I'm going to have like a region that I have to work with, and I'm going in completely blind. So here's to them not firing me in the first month.
Heck yeah.
So
My cool thing is my buddy just released an album. I'm gonna link it here in this chat. I'm also gonna put it underneath the video, but it is kind of a modern country type thing.
Okay.
I know Zach is kind of into that. Not everybody else is, but if you like that kind of thing, check it out because I think it's really good.
Name drop that artist. Who is it?
why you gotta at me like that?
His name is Brian Lamert.
Okay.
I work with him, and he's very talented.
That's dope.
That's
If you're
awesome.
gonna listen to any one song, it should be "Those Were the Good Old Days." It's my favorite one.
I want to check it out
That's
now.
very
I
cool.
love listening to like, I'm not local there anymore, but you know what I mean.
Right. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our first main segment. And we're going to have a bit of a deeper conversation with this one, I think. Because the question today is the death penalty appropriate or should it be banned? And we're going to start this off with
Claire.
I swear.
with
It'll be Claire.
with Claire.
No! I said earlier, I was like, if it's me, and Ryan was like, it will be.
Well, it was me
Three.
twice in a row, but it's not allowed to be me. So
3 episodes running.
I think we just need to fill
No.
Two and a
like the
half.
outside in. From our perspective, Foster, I think, is running like a random generator that has all of our names in it. Am I correct?
yes.
And yeah, it's been drawing Claire for the first of everything, and she's really pressured. So
He's not actually doing anything. He's just calling on Claire each time.
That's just, he's putting me on the spot. I hate it too. I can't start the conversation. Okay.
It's-
hit us with it.
you.
Set the tone.
What can I say?
I gotta pass it. Can I pass it?
Oh.
I passed it last time too.
Yeah, lame.
Who's
I feel
eager?
like you can only get one pass it.
Oh, I shouldn't have mentioned that then. I can't start the conversation.
Okay, does anybody have a thought that they want to start with?
I'll reply.
Weak. Okay.
I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say.
Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say. No, I was gonna say Zach. That's what I was gonna
Yes,
call.
me too. Do it.
I
I don't know if you've started. Please take us away.
2v1,
You sure?
dude.
Yes.
sure?
Yes.
Okay.
Go.
So I'm a
Wrong.
big politics junkie. I love this kind of stuff. I think that really there's not much need to kill people, just in general. I'm not 100% convinced either way, but I do think that life in prison is arguably worse than the death penalty and being, euthanized.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the other side to that, though, is that these states with capital punishment, granted, I'd have to look at a number of like how many capital crimes are committed where the death penalty is instated, but that a lot of taxpayer money does go into jails and prisons, and while it's no excuse to kill people, that money can add up pretty quickly. And so again, I'd have to look at a number, and that's not necessarily to say that, oh, if the number's high enough, then yeah, just start killing people because, less tax. But I do think that just death in general kind of sucks. Like, why kill people? Like, if somebody kills somebody, I think they should have to sit in a prison cell for 80 years and think about it, or 60 years and think about it. It's
Let me
a pretty
fill
garbage thing to
in
do.
those gaps really quick.
You have numbers?
The number of people that were executed by the death sentence last year was 25. There's also 25 states where the death penalty is legal still.
Is that
Wow.
U.S. facts? Just to clarify.
That is just us.
Okay.
Yeah, just the U.S. There's 21 states where it's illegal, and 4 states where it is still technically legal, but the governor has a moratorium on it. So he said not to do it, even though it is still technically in the law.
I do think for the sake of the argument, we should probably try and focus on the U.S. with this specific conversation.
I agree.
I think it's a cultural thing, too. I don't think...
Well, we can't really speak for any other. We're
yeah,
all
I think
American,
if you grow
so.
up in, China, Japan, Israel, all these places have different cultures. They might value a life differently
Mm-hmm.
than
Correct.
what we do. So I think we should probably focus the scope on the U.S.
Yeah, I mean that's why the states have different laws from each other, because that could even be true here, where we cross a big enough land that cultures vary from place to place. But no, dude, I totally agree with you on the part that you were like, why it seems like it's unnecessary, and like in what situation would you go as
Almost
far
kind
to
of
kill
barbaric.
somebody? Yeah, I would absolutely agree. I think people, I would imagine, because I don't really come from this perspective, but I would imagine that people's thought behind it is like, well, if somebody killed somebody or multiple people especially, then they deserve to die because they're taking someone else's life, right? Um, I don't, I don't know. I don't think like fixing a problem by doing the same thing is necessarily the right thing in all cases. I think they absolutely deserve it, but like you said, sometimes life in prison is worse. And a lot of times people spend a significant amount of time in prison before that happens anyway, but still. I don't necessarily think that like the eye for an eye, like Hammurabi's code type shit is what we need to be doing anymore. I think there are like better ways, and I don't know the answer, but like you said, it seems barbaric.
Does anyone have the ability to look up what constitutes the death penalty in the 25 states or so? I know it could vary state to state.
There's not an exact thing that
Okay.
allows death. It's usually, however, reserved for the worst of the worst type people.
Yeah, because I don't
Right.
think it's one for one. Like I don't think a
Yeah.
murderer that kills a single person will get the death penalty.
No, like mass rapists, mass pedophilia.
And even now they have castration, chemical castration
Mhm.
for rapists. So,
Like, and for the sake of argument, and I do kind of believe it, like the guy, I can't even remember his name, and if I did, I wouldn't want to drop it for his attention's sake anyway, but the guy who last year, the year before, went into a black church and just shot everybody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, and
think that was
maybe I'm
earlier.
just more emotional than logic, like, why should that man get a bed, a roof over his head, and 3 meals a day? Like,
That's a good point.
why does he deserve that?
Yeah. So a lot of times with the death penalty, people that are on death row, they get the exact same treatment during their stay on death row as most other prison inmates. And then come the day of their euthanasia, they get treated to any meal of their choice. They get drugged up so they don't feel anything. And by now they've perfected these I believe they use cyanide still, a form of cyanide. I mean, these people on death row, they don't feel their death, and they get treated to a last meal. I'd almost like, what is the point? What are you achieving by killing them? You're taking them out.
Justice? I
Batman.
suppose.
And I think that can kind of come down to your perspective on
Absolutely.
justice.
Yeah, I think you're right, but to the families of those people who were gunned down,
Oh, absolutely.
they would not want that man to live.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't even imagine being in their shoes.
Dio, say something.
I think it should be allowed for people that have like lifetime sentences, like multiple lifetime sentences. If that's even still a thing, I don't know. But like, if someone's serving more than they're expected to live, like if you're expected to die in prison, then I think just
Get it over with.
Yeah, I mean,
So are you saying like you think
if
the
there's-
government should mandate anybody with over a life sentence or a life sentence to
Yeah.
death, or do you think that the prisoner should have the choice? I got lost in what.
I think the government should mandate that because
Okay.
but only like it comes down to like minute details. Like if there is concrete evidence that this person is did everything, there's no slim chance that they couldn't have done it. Like if there is concrete evidence that this person did everything that they're in jail for, then I think they should get it. Because even with you just saying or with me just saying oh, anyone who has over their anyone who's expected to die in prison should get the sentence. There's people that get convicted that get wrongly convicted, so I think it would have to be only if the person was concrete in jail, there's no way that they're getting out, and they're probably going to die in prison. I think that should just be what happens.
Interesting.
And to add to that, I suppose the only people who are getting life sentences or multiple life sentences are people who did pretty terrible things.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. if they've done those terrible things, then why are we giving them 3 free meals a day? You know, why
Yeah.
are they getting free housing? If we know they did those things, just, you know.
Yeah, this is actually really cool because freshman year I took a law course. It was like a constitutional law, and we actually had a similar conversation to this in class with like 45 people, and it was basically talking about when all these founding documents, including like the Federalist Papers, were instated. Um, back then the death penalty was actually very widely used. Do we think that it translates to modern day well? Do we think it should still be used? If so, why? Why not? And this is a really cool callback to that. So, yeah.
That's a good point. Like, when it, like, drawing the connection between, like, that time and this time. Interesting. I definitely think the ways we do it now are a lot better, for sure. But, yeah, interesting.
I'm sure many people would call for public execution by guillotine
That
if
fact.
it was still allowed.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Look how France turned out, though. So.
Well, Claire, you dodged this long.
Look like you're thinking something over there.
I just like don't have an immediate opinion on this, which is uncommon for myself.
It's not something I typically think about.
I was just reading some stuff while you guys were talking, and I was listening, and because originally like one of my first thoughts was like the tax dollar thing, and like why are we spending money to keep these people like kicking if there's really no reason, and like that's a waste of money. But like I just was reading this little article, and it's talking about how like this is from 2014, so it's a little dated, but like there was 185 people on death row in the state of Pennsylvania in 2014, and to keep those people on death row, it said they spent over $350 million to have those cases happen, and on average it's like $1.9 million more per case of people who are like on trial for death penalty than people who aren't. So that like kind of changed my mind a little bit.
I want to say something with that though.
Yeah,
I think there needs to be an important line between cases and just feeding them and like their physical space.
Sure.
Because there's no way you can say that the cases can't be justified because of exactly what Theo was talking about, because factually convicting people. You know what I mean? It sounds like that's where the money you said going into cases. So I wonder if that's like resources in the courtroom, which I think is a necessary thing.
I don't have like a fact or a number or anything, but I'm like, I've heard of this before, but like there's so many more people on death row than people who actually, go through with it. And like, because it literally sometimes doesn't happen. So they keep these people anyway, but they're spending more money to keep them on death row than to just put them in prison for life, which is interesting.
That's true.
Yeah, a lot of people die on death row, not necessarily at the end of it,
Yep. I mean, would you say 25 people last year?
In the U.S., yeah.
And how many people
that's
were
crazy.
probably
that's a
on
lot
death
less
row?
than I thought.
Like hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah, I mean, I know that's stated, but like in a year, there's 185 people in one state.
Yeah. Times 50, that's at least 6.
Thanks for the math, Ryan.
Yeah, but if we step away from the money of it, if it's not about just spending money on lives and like valuing a life, is it like, should we still be getting rid of these criminals? Like, if it didn't cost anything to do it, would we be more okay with it?
With what? What do you mean by
with the death penalty?
Okay. But that doesn't really change my opinion personally. That makes it better, actually.
Yeah, I would actually agree. I think if you take the money out of the equation, I might sound like a heartless bastard, but if you take the money out of the equation, then the people that do crimes severe enough to be on death row should have to sit in a fucking cell and not see the light of day. They should. I personally think worse should be done, but I don't think killing someone.
kind of the
I'm gonna
easy
say
way.
if they
Mhm.
if they value, because I'd be curious to know what the number of people on death row um, are, or the percentage are that are murderers. I feel like it would be rather high, and just from an assumption, at base level, I feel like if they didn't value life enough to not commit their crime, then they obviously don't have any form of self-preservation. Why do they care if they die?
Yeah.
Don't give them the satisfaction.
This is a really bad comparison, but the Joker wants Batman to kill him. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
Yeah.
He like
yeah.
dying isn't a thing to him. So I don't know.
Makes him almost a martyr.
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we don't do the death penalty for those people, should they be getting a different jail treatment? Should
Oh,
they
it
maybe
should
be
be
in
bad.
solitary with
Yeah.
Yeah.
less meals a day? Should they?
Absolutely.
What's the replacement for the death penalty if we're not going to do it?
Absolute solitary. I think, it's fucked up for sure. There's obviously psychological problems that come with being in solitary for extended periods of times.
Yeah. Not that they don't already have psychological problems in
Yeah.
a lot of cases.
Exactly. Not
But-
that they don't already, but
Fuck that.
if they like I said, if they've done something to warrant them being on death row, and there's no chance of them getting off of it, or if someone's facing life in prison, like I said, they deserve whatever came to them. I think, in my mind, because they made the choices that got them into the position that they're in, and they could have done literally anything other than killing 40 people or shit like that. They could have done literally anything else and not been in the situation they're in.
Yeah.
I have a side question. I don't want to break off and leave the original topic, but
That's it.
Theo's saying absolute solitary. Do you guys think that somebody on death row, or say we remove it, whatever, they're still in prison in solitary? Do you think these people should say receive the same amount of food as another prisoner? Do you think that a crime warrants near, I don't want to call it torture, but you're depriving them of something that is essential to life. You're not just pulling them away from society. You don't have to be around people to live. It'd be kind of a hard life, but you're not depriving them of life.
Yeah. What was specifically your question in the smallest statement?
Do you think you should not give them as much food as a form of punishment? Do you think they should eat the same amount as everybody else? Do you think that is malnourishment and is bad? Or do you think that put them in solitary, but give them the same amount of food as everybody else that, might be in jail because they, stole a car?
I think we're
I don't know.
confused by this statement of amount of food. I think they should get enough food to survive and be decent and not horribly horrible, but not good by any means. But there has to be a difference between people who go to jail for the possession of weed and people who go to jail for killing 30 people. There has to be a difference.
Yeah,
Right.
the first thing that kind of pops into my head would be 2 meals a day with a jug of water, and that's what you get every day, slid under you from a door in a room with no windows, with lights that turn on and lights that turn off. That
Yeah.
I feel would give the proper psychological punishment while still keeping them alive to endure it.
I think
that's it.
there
It's
are people in prison, normal prisoners, I should say, your average prisoner gets enough nourishment in a day to get jacked in jail.
Yeah.
So clearly they're getting a decent amount of calories in a day. But we need to, if we are putting a person in solitary as a replacement for the death penalty, I think they should get just enough to maintain their body weight, if that.
Okay. I was just curious.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, I think as inhuman as their actions are and how it completely separates them from that, I think at the end of the day they're still humans, if that makes sense. So it's tough. They don't deserve it, but I absolutely think that they should get something. I don't know.
Oh, I'm reading this thing. It's like it's a public opinion thing. A poll was taken in 2010, and
Oh,
it was
Lord.
asked like alternatives to the death penalty. And it's not saying how many people it was, but 33% of people said death penalty, 13% said life without parole, 9% said life with parole, 39% said life without parole plus restitution. I don't know what that means.
Restitution is paying.
Okay.
It's typically paying families or, um, it's like a bereavement fee.
And then 6% had no opinion. And it also says that a clear majority of voters, 61%, would choose a punishment other than the death penalty for murder. So just from looking at like that statistic, it kind of seems like everyone is on the same page as us when we say like, if not the death penalty, then something fucked up. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
something.
I'm surprised that 6% said with parole.
Yeah, what?
Yeah,
They're
some
probably on
people
death
that are
row.
in jail for like 10 years, because they stole a couple cars, sometimes can't get parole.
Yeah.
Let alone, somebody on death row.
Right.
Yeah, while it is an issue, let's not dive into the problem that our jail systems are kind of fucked up in a lot of ways anyway.
I think the people who said with parole would have to be in one of the states with no death penalty, I would assume.
Really?
Probably.
I mean,
I would assume.
if you think about it, those are the type of people who, if they don't want the death penalty, they're going to be offering them
Yeah.
as much
okay.
chance as possible. So
That's an interesting look on it.
it's also interesting to point out that, like the North Midwest, I should say, and New England are the main ones that are
Ohio.
like no death penalty.
Oh wait,
But
I thought you were going the other way. That's interesting.
no, yeah, but Indiana, where we are, Ohio, and most of the South still have the death penalty.
Interesting.
Yeah, if you look at them, if you look at it's not a gigantic leap in logic to assume that the majority of conservative states are going to like the death penalty, and a lot of the more liberal states are going to be not necessarily against it, but a little more iffy. Also, a lot of those states that do still have the death penalty are where most of the federal prisons are, like Terre Haute, Indiana.
Oh, dude, good point.
Terre Haute actually performs
Yeah.
executions.
You guys can open that to see the exact
And-
state figures.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I'm actually really surprised with Idaho there.
Idaho always surprises me.
Actually, I'm. Nah,
There's
never
a
mind.
state's infographic for everyone.
There's a very
not
large
filled in.
Mormon population in Idaho, and the Mormon populations typically vote a lot more traditional conservative.
So, I'm looking at another thing that says it's like listing what capital offenses are by state as of 2013, and almost every single one it's like intentional first-degree murder with anywhere between 1 to, I think the highest is like 20 aggravating circumstances, and aggravating circumstances are essentially just reasons like that further why they should be given the death penalty.
Okay.
Like if Ryan murdered Zach, but then we found out that Ryan was planning this for months, and Ryan had asked other people to help him, and like stuff like that. Things that just further like, all right, dude, you were planning on doing this. There's no way you're getting out of it.
Right.
And that's almost every single state. Usually it's like with like for example, Indiana is murder with 16 aggravating circumstances as of 2013. You said that changed or something, right?
Could
Right,
you run
could
that
have.
back?
We don't.
Can you run that back like a minute? I disconnected.
Oh, most capital offenses for the death penalty involve murder with aggravating circumstances.
Okay.
So, like Ohio's, for an example, is aggravated murder with at least 1 of 10 aggravating circumstances.
Hmm.
So it's just
And that's like the requirement to meet the death penalty?
to like be considered for the death penalty.
I guess so.
As fucked up as that sounds.
And
Yeah.
could that play into why they're like on for so long, being like going back and forth about it because they're trying to prove those aggravating circumstances?
I would
Probably.
assume that's probably
Okay,
it, yeah.
that makes sense.
A lot of people that are on death row that don't go on death row is because there's even a smidgen. There's a lot of text that is there to try and keep people that, they might be there, but the law isn't 100% sure that they did it.
Yeah.
Those people, if there's even a shred of a doubt, they're not supposed to be executed ever.
Yeah.
And I do believe that in my class we went over, it was either 1 or 2 instances where a man was executed on what was absolutely idiotic circumstances. Like, it's like people were murdered, guy was on scene, guy points to guy saying, he did it, and then they're like, execute him.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's atrocious. And it later came back and they found out that he wasn't the guy. It makes your stomach churn. But since then, they've tried to get better about it. I do think the law's a little broken, but that's a bigger subject.
All right, we are at about halfway in our time here, so I'm going to move to our summaries here. Just give me a sentence about should the death penalty be allowed or should it be banned, and what would your replacement be? Let's start with Claire.
Alphabetically, you have to go first.
I'm changing my name. I'm gonna say that I think there are maybe better options, and perhaps the like solitaire thing that we talked about would be what I would suggest.
Ryan.
Yeah, buddy. I'm gonna say it's not cool. I think it should be not done altogether. As horrible as actions are, I'm gonna compare it to them taking a life and having so many agitating circumstances. I don't think, in any case, another human is meant to decide if another human should live or not. I don't think if they don't have a right to take a life, I don't think anybody does, and that's just a fact. It's really shitty, and I think there are a lot of like what ifs. And, of course, what do you do with them? The solitude thing we talked about isn't perfect, but I think based on my belief that, like, who are you to take a life? In any circumstance, like, that's just what I have to say. And you got to find a way to deal with it otherwise.
Okay. Theo.
I think it should be allowed under certain circumstances. Yeah.
Okay.
You're just like, maybe?
Probably.
It's a valid answer. It's
Yeah.
It's a very valid answer.
Zach.
I'm actually Theo, I'm gonna agree with you. I think it's a state issue, not necessarily a federal one. I think it's hard to like 100% yes, 100% no.
Sure.
I think taking lives is pretty garbage, but I can also understand a sense of justice in the killing. I can't sympathize with, I can sympathize with them. I can't know what some people go through.
And there it
I'm
is.
going to say that there have been many American terrorists that I think should have been executed, just from my emotions, not from my actual logic, because I'm a liberal snowflake, I guess. But but my replacement for the death penalty is going to be putting them all in a small field with a lot of tigers and letting nature decide.
There we go.
Okay.
You heard it here first, folks.
So, with that, we are going to move on to our next segment called Fun Facts. And during Fun Facts, we all share fun facts. We're gonna reverse things right now, and we're gonna start with Zach Burns.
Oof. Change
Oh,
the pace
you know
just a
what?
little bit, my guy.
Oh,
Oh.
there he goes.
Just kidding. Okay, fun fact. The original Orange. Okay, run with me.
Mhm.
I know this is a hard fact to bear, but the first oranges weren't orange.
All right, get out of here.
Were they yellow?
They were
Big
green.
time.
Do
They
we
were
need
green
to
all the way
rebrand?
through maturity.
Yo,
Yeah,
we're
they were
orange
from
and
Asia,
green.
and they were green the entire time, ripe and everything.
Do you know what made them turn orange?
Something about like pigmentation because of the like nutrients in the dirt when they were moved to different continents.
Likely
Different
story.
nutrients, different continents.
I think it's because orange juice was orange.
That's that. I think right.
Yeah, orange juice was invented, and they were like, "Oh, these need to be orange."
We can't just have green oranges.
Yeah.
Green juice. Ugh. Ugh.
I don't know
Nice.
how I feel about that.
I think that
Some
means
pulpy
Theo's next,
green
right?
juice. Ugh.
Theo, what's your fun fact?
Okay. So my fun fact is that the unicorn is the national animal of Scotland.
I'm fucking pissed right now. I don't have a fun fact anymore.
Fun fact, Theo's a bitch!
Theo,
Well,
you piece of
if,
shit.
Did we
Well,
all go
if,
to the same place? Because I
I was
saw
gonna
the
say we
orange
probably
one.
did. There's 150 random facts.
Uh,
so
You brought it back
interesting.
to reality, but the way you started that, you were like the unicorn. And I was about to say, he said fact.
Hard fact.
Yeah. So yeah.
I definitely, before the podcast started, Claire definitely said, I'm going to tell them what the animal of Scotland is or whatever.
It's
Oh, I'm
beavers.
pretty sure I missed that. I did not hear that. I apologize.
Okay,
Alright.
we'll go to Ryan then.
It was
Claire,
subconscious.
hurry.
Fun fact.
I'm gonna try to stall as long as possible. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, sit back because this one might have you in a place of awe. Apparently, the tiny pocket in jeans. Do girls have tiny pockets in your jeans? Is that a thing? Is that a newer
Any
thing?
pockets within the pockets? Like
No,
Yeah.
you put your
not
keys in?
really. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't-
Girls barely have pockets.
That's
period.
a hard
Truth.
fact. Okay, that's a different podcast. Why don't girls have
Jacksonville.
pockets? Apparently the tiny pocket was originally meant for a pocket watch.
Really.
Yeah. I can't fit my
could
keys
see
in
it.
there, dude. Do you have one key?
Literally, I have one key in my fob.
well,
Yo, it's like wallets. Like,
I cannot fit my wallet in there.
no, but like putting stuff in your wallet. My wallet's always just not even because of money. I'm not even.
My
saying
wallet
I got
is
money.
so thick all the time. Gosh,
it's
I
not
hate
even
having
from
all
money.
this cash.
I don't have that issue. Mine is pretty thin. I rarely carry cash, so.
My wallet is my ID and a dollar bill. Easy.
I'm gonna share my facts, and so Claire can get hers already.
She's working on it.
Mine was that the first president to ever leave the country during his presidency was Theodore Roosevelt when he went to oversee the Panama Canal
Oh, okay.
construction. So I thought that was interesting. Nowadays, it's just kind of a norm that people that the presidents will leave and go be ambassadors. But
Dude, represent Theodore was good.
Nice, dude. To go see the Panama
Claire,
Canal.
what you got?
Hit us.
Okay. Apparently jellyfish are not actually fish because they do not have bones, brains, or hearts.
They're made
Oh,
out
they
of
don't have
jelly.
brains
What
or
are they?
hearts?
What are they classified
Jelly,
as?
dude.
Not actually jelly.
It just says that scientists refer to them as jellies.
Huh.
I don't have any more info than that.
According
So they are
to
actually made of jelly.
according to Ellen DeGeneres in the 2003 hit Nemo, they're squishies.
They're squishies.
Yes.
Yes.
So
I shall call them squishy, and they shall be my squishy, and they shall be mine.
a wide variety of scientific terms used here, but yeah, not fish. Very interesting.
Yep. So, also unicorns, but
It's the national animal
Okay.
of your mom.
Now we will move on to Who Would Rather, our segment that we either present a who would win situation or a would you rather situation given by one of us
It's gonna
at
be me.
random, and it is Zach.
Fucking!
What you got?
I was so prepared.
I'm gonna give it to Ryan.
No,
I'm
no,
gonna give
it's
it to
you.
Ryan.
It's you. It's gotta
No.
be. I know you're not prepared, so
I
you got
literally lost mine.
Dude,
Go for
Ryan,
it.
give us what you got.
it's not even good. I wanted it to be me fair and square. You're really hurting me here. Okay. Oh, I gotta find it. It's written down somewhere. Okay.
It's right back in there. Sorry.
I'm gonna do a hot would you rather. Thank you for pointing it out.
Okay.
Okay. This one's pretty easy, but I think it'd bring up a interesting point of conversation. If you had to be one of these two things for the rest of your life, would you rather be deaf or blind?
Deaf, easy.
I think I would agree.
I would
Yeah.
agree.
So I couldn't
would
hear
go
your
with deaf.
bullshit.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah, I would be deaf just because one of the things I do a lot is play games. and
Dude, I
stuff.
couldn't play League if I was. Thank you.
I was thinking about art and stuff.
Okay, that's fair.
But, you know,
That's a good
you-
point.
Yeah, and I also photography is
Right.
is something that at least 3 of us here like
That's
to do.
smarter.
So
Can't do
that's
that if you're blind.
Okay, boys, what do
I
you
feel
think?
like I would notice a lot more that I'm missing out on if I was deaf, but I do like at first thought, I feel like I would be able to do a lot less blind than I could if I was deaf.
That's where I think it goes to for me too.
Mhm.
Like
I'd rather be blind.
even if
Really?
you were
Why?
just,
Why?
Music.
'Cause music.
Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
I was just gonna say that I mean, there's a whole slew of problems that comes if you're blind. I mean, the biggest one to me is you can't drive.
Or
Like,
walk
You
without
can't.
learning a whole
It's
new way.
harder to take any form of transportation.
Yeah.
You can't transport yourself, and suddenly, a lot of stuff just gets on top. Like, I don't know. Theo, go.
Yeah, I'd much rather be blind for sure.
Fake.
Not even just for music. I've just found that any period of time that I go without having music be like playing music or like listening to music that I really love, anytime I go a long period of time without experiencing those things, I find myself very like in a slump, like very depressed. And so I would much rather be blind because I could still enjoy the thing that I love. And I think that with being blind, music would be a much more organic thing
Mm-hmm.
because it wouldn't be like oh, I can play this piano lick because I know where all the keys are. It's I can play this piano lick because I know what it sounds like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It feels
And I
like.
think, yeah,
know?
exactly. And I think that would be a considerably cooler way to enjoy music.
Good ass point.
Also, side point, I'd probably change my answer if it was. Is it from birth?
Let's just say from now on, I guess.
Ooh,
Yeah. Then my answer's the
still
same.
blind. Still blind.
If it was from birth, I would choose to be blind.
Really?
Why?
Because being deaf makes it much harder to learn communication.
I
And
guess.
if I went deaf now, I could still communicate. I'd have the muscle memory. I'd know what I'm saying
Mhm.
just by forming my mouth. I think from birth, it'd be much harder if you're deaf to pick up.
I
I mean,
I can
sign
still
language.
speak versus sign language. And I'm just saying, I think more people, verbally communicate. That's a wider form of communication.
Okay.
Oh,
So
I think you're absolutely right with that. I don't, excluding the from birth thing, because I think that could be a little bit different. I think regardless in both cases, I would rather be deaf than blind. I don't know. There's a reason like everybody's afraid of the dark. If that makes sense, I think not being able to see is absolutely terrifying. Maybe it's just because I can see.
Losing
You know what I
your
mean?
sight would be.
Losing it would be way more devastating than never having it, I guess. But as important as I think it is, like, I don't know if important's the right term, but hang with me, to like hear people's voices and music absolutely, and just like hear the vocal tones and things of like people you really care about and love. I think that's absolutely really important. I don't think it's worth not seeing them though, if you know what I mean. Personally, I mean, I think what Theo's saying is absolutely like a valid point, but it's tough. You don't want either, you know?
It's very tough. It's true.
You
It's
could
also a
listen to
lot
the
easier to
podcast
make
if
up.
you were deaf.
for being deaf.
Let's move on to our secondary main question, which is also on the same wavelength as our first one,
Oh
which
Lord.
is just, is it ever okay to kill someone?
Who's
Yes,
going
in self-defense.
first?
Circumstance. We are going to go to Ryan, to start out.
Oh
I
wait,
didn't,
was
I
I
didn't mean to
drawn?
jump in like that. I didn't mean to jump in. I thought it was an open-ended question. Sorry.
You're good, dude. Was I drawn? Am I the elected
Yeah,
person?
you're the
Yes.
election.
Good. I feel
Not
good about this.
me.
I think I kind of agree with what Zach was saying. My
Nope,
initial
I haven't gone
reaction.
yet.
Okay, fuck off. My initial reaction is to say like, no, never is. It's never okay to. I believe you phrased the question. Is it ever okay? No, it's not. But in a heartbeat, I would absolutely kill somebody who was, trying to kill me or someone that you cared about. It really depends on the circumstance. Obviously, it's never fine. It's never okay. But there are circumstances where you have to act and make a decision.
Okay.
You know, and I personally, I think I would be willing
think
to make
everyone
that.
would agree that it's okay to kill someone if they're about to kill you.
Right.
So let's take self-preservation out of the
Okay.
question. Is there any other circumstance where it's okay to kill someone?
Just taking self-preservation out, or like,
Yeah, just
if somebody's
Is
about to beat
self-preservation
Zach's ass.
exclusive? Is self-preservation exclusive to, like, living versus dead, or is it also like your livelihood? Like, if somebody's stealing your
I'm gonna say
$1 million,
living versus dead. That's
Okay.
the only self-preservation that counts.
Okay.
I don't want to like be the only one talking right now, but I think I'd still do the exact same thing if somebody were about to kill like anyone that I care about, especially. But
Oh yeah, I think if somebody was coming after my family, I
Right.
would definitely act on that. But
My knee-jerk reaction is yes, in self-defense as a last resort. I think
good way to put it.
in the moment, if there is literally anything else you can do, attempt it. If there is nothing else you can do, then I feel like the fault's not yours.
let me
So,
present a situation. Well, let me hear from Claire and Theo before I do this, if they agree or disagree. Real quick.
Hit us.
Nose goes. I'm touching my nose.
She's not. Okay, that's you, dude.
Okay, can you say the question one more time so I can like?
well,
Hear
The
it.
question we're standing on right now is it okay to ever kill somebody outside of self-preservation?
I'm gonna be that fucking person right now. And the thing that I'm like juggling in my head right now is I hate myself. The topic of like abortion and what is that considered as, and my stance with that would make me feel weird because I would identify as like a pro-choice person. So does that make me pro? Yeah, I don't know. That's where I'm at in my head right now. I don't really have an answer.
Let's skate that one because I want to
Yeah.
come back to that on
Yeet.
on a major point next time, and we
So-
can talk about that for a long time.
That's like the only thing my head's
So
at.
are you initially saying like under very specific circumstances like the argument could be made? Like is that where you're confused, like battling with yourself?
Like
about?
that could be considered as ending
Uh-huh.
one's life, and
Yeah.
like is that a justifiable thing to do? Question mark. But if we want to consider that a different topic, I'm down for just
Well, yeah, I want to talk a long
So
time
yes or
about
no?
that, I think.
outside of that circumstance. I don't. And then we're taking self-defense out of it too. Like no, I guess then I don't see a justifiable reason for it. Like if it's not out of self-defense and it's not out of that circumstance, why would it ever be a justifiable thing to do? So.
I agree with Claire. That's
Okay.
I was trying to think of a reason as to why it would be okay too, and I just can't find one.
Well, let me throw a classic conundrum at you.
Do it.
Nice.
You guys ever heard of the trolley conundrum?
yes, I studied
Yeah.
it for about a month.
Nope.
I need you guys
It's a
to
pretty
inform me.
well-known thing here.
It's BS.
So essentially, what's going on in the trolley conundrum is there is a trolley that's about to split off into one of two tracks. On one track, there are 5 people tied down, incapacitated, and the train is going to hit them if nothing happens. On the other track is just one person tied down, incapacitated, but if you personally pull the lever to switch the trolley track, it will miss the 5 people and hit the guy. However, you could do nothing and not be involved, because the thing is here, if you actually pull the thing, you are making an active choice to kill that person, as opposed to avoiding it.
Okay, but
But is that worse?
Ignoring the situation is somewhat making an active choice to
I-
kill
yeah.
5 people. You know?
I
ahead,
would
can I
hate
go?
that. I'd pull it
Yes.
personally.
So does that mean that it's a justifiable killing of a person?
I don't think no,
Yes.
but
I
yes.
think so. If that's the situation that's being laid out, and I have to say whether or not because of this situation it's fair, then absolutely it's fair because in a way it's self-preservation. You're saving 5 people, while unfortunately having to kill 1 person. Yes, but like, it,
Not making a choice is a choice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just the
exactly.
minimization of casualties or loss of life. You
That-
know,
It absolutely sucks shit to be in that
Yeah.
situation. I'm gonna pull the lever every time.
but in no way I wouldn't be able to sleep at night knowing that I
Right.
just didn't do anything and
Yeah.
watched.
That's worse, in my opinion, a little bit.
I would agree. Like Claire said, I think choosing to walk away or choosing to just watch, that's a choice.
it's like in like a lot of superhero movies when it's like, oh, you're my best friend, and they're like, oh, save my best friend or let a bajillion of people in this city fucking die, and they're like, oh, better save my friend or some stupid shit like that, and you're like, why? Why would you do that? If
I
you
was-
could save everybody, why would you not just like let? Although it's your best friend, unfortunately, like
Man, if I was
for the greater good, you gotta do what you gotta do.
if I was the one dude on the tracks and I knew like me or 5 other people, I'd be like, yeah, I don't know, like that. I'd be like, take my life, not theirs.
Yeah,
you
I'm not
know?
gonna live knowing that I made that choice from that guy's
For
perspective
5
either.
people's. I mean, not that person is making much of a
No,
choice, but
but-
like
Okay.
What about you, dude? You posed the
yeah,
question. I
Foster
want to hear
didn't
what you
give
gotta
a good
say.
Opinion.
I would, in that exact given situation, yes, I would definitely pull the lever, and I would say that's justified in that situation. But I think most people would agree with that. So I want to give you a variation on that.
Okay.
Real quick. So let's say
I know what you're about to say.
I don't think
The
you know
trolley's
what I'm about to
actually
say.
a rocket ship.
I'm excited. Go for it.
Okay, so you're a doctor in a well-acclaimed hospital.
Likely story.
There are 5 patients who each need an organ, or they're going to die, as opposed to one guy who you could find some expensive medicine for and save his life, or, and I know organ matching doesn't work like this, but just for the sake of this, his organs are perfect matches for the 5 people, and if you let him die, those 5 people get to live. Does that change things?
Okay, I have a question. Is
You
this
can save the one guy?
okay? My question is this like no one else knows that I'm letting this guy die, or is it like is,
Unplug.
yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like, is it that situation, or is it like written consent?
You're fired for
He
that,
would be
dude.
willing to give his organs
Dead.
to those 5 people. Like,
I think
is it
well,
his choice
it's not
or
his
her
choice,
choice
it is
rather?
your choice. But it's
Never
not
are
gonna
you
be-
going to be like, look, dude, here's the situation. What do you think? You know?
Yeah, you're not gonna, because that's an ethical situation where you're like,
Yeah.
hey, you can save these 5 people if you kill yourself. Like, you're not gonna put that on that person to die.
Right.
So, it's your choice, but it's not a secret either.
This is a variation on
On a
a
variation?
question that's commonly used for abortion arguments.
Okay.
Full circle.
So-
Sorry.
Which I want to talk about that. I really do, but I want to save it for our own thing so we don't shortchange.
I
it.
want to hear what he has to say, though.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any more to your point, absolutely keep going.
Oh no,
That's it.
I was rubbing my eyes because this is a big can of worms.
Uh huh.
And I was
Let's
just
go
talking.
fishing, boys.
If anybody else has anything to say, please.
Let me plant it on
Shoot.
Ryan. Ryan, what are you doing in that situation?
Oh,
Plant it on
dog.
Ryan?
See, it's hard for me to imagine. It's easier for me to imagine the superhero movie moment than a moment, excluding that I'm an acclaimed doctor, right? Fine. But that I'm ever in a situation where I'm in charge of dealing with these 6 people, and I have, there's no way one of those people would keep me busy enough. But whatever, for the sake of the argument. I would not let that guy die because I feel like everybody deserves the same treatment, and it's it's a really fine line. That fucking sucks, and I think the right thing to do is to let that guy have no. I think the right thing to do is to do that and save the other people. But I won't because I think everybody has to have the same choice or the same chance, not choice. You got to give that guy his medicine, even though he's probably going to have a really hard life and, not live very long, potentially, and all that shit. And, those people probably aren't going to find the perfect organ, but there's a chance they do from someone else, I guess, I think you have to, for me, switch it because just the circumstances are a little bit different in that situation.
I'm gonna run this back just as a mental checklist.
Sure.
You said the guy was sick and needed medicine. The single guy.
Yep.
Okay. And the 5 other people that need the organs.
Mm-hmm.
There's literally no other way for them to get these.
Like, they're going to die
Oof.
with, like, shortly after this guy dies if they don't get the medicine. Or if they don't get those organs, essentially.
And there's no other way they can get the organs.
We don't have other organ donors. They've all died.
Then yes, the guy dies. The single guy dies. In a heartbeat.
Or none.
Okay.
Why
do you choose that?
My justification for that is it is that
you didn't want to
I
be a
don't
doctor
want to
anymore
seem
anyway.
I don't want to seem so cold as screw it. So lifetime or lifespan. Imagine it as a stopwatch. Okay. There is more cumulative time on the side of the 5 people if they live versus the 1 guy. And the only reason that I'm okay saying something that sounds this cold is because I went back and confirmed that there's no other way these 5 can get anything, and this other guy will die. So the fact that he will die, he has a finite lifespan that's immediately outweighed by the 5 that can go on to live potentially hundreds of times more life than the other guy. And I think if there was any hesitation there with like, we're not sure about these other donors, they might be able to, get in and get these organs or whatever, they're stuck in traffic, whatever. Then I would probably say, no, let the guy live.
So then if it was like risky that they might get it, then you're saying that you'd let the guy live.
I'm just saying if there's potential that you can let the guy live and the 5 people get the organs, then I'd probably say let the guy live as long as he can. Or if you said that, he's a perfectly healthy dude, but we just take his organs and he would die from it, then I would say let him live, because he or she has, you don't know how long they're going to live. They have no finite lifespan. Let them live.
I think I'm on that train too. Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
I was kind of basing, I really agree with Zach, to be honest with you. So I just want to say, like, is this situation at all, like, parallel to real doctors' hospital situation? Like, do I continue my career after this? Like, did these people have family? Are we in an absolute vacuum and it's just one shitty situation to save 5? Or
yeah, I think these people have families.
Okay, but
you are gonna keep being a doctor after, I'm assuming.
Not if you kill that guy.
That's true.
That is the only thing making me say no. We don't kill that guy. If it's in a vacuum, I'll do it every time, just exactly for what Zach said with the stopwatch thing and just like, I don't know, percentage. But in a vacuum, I do it, but I don't, So that's tough.
Theo or Claire, do you have any ideas?
Claire, do you want to go?
We go ahead.
She's touching her nose, dude.
So this kind of hits home for me because my uncle recently needed an organ transplant
Mm.
and a heart transplant, actually. And being a part of a family that has a family member that is going through that and has gone through that, I can personally tell you what it does to other family members that are like siblings or parents or children. It's a huge emotional burden, and it's, every day is, are they going to be alive the next day? And so coming from a strictly my own experiences with this, not this exact situation, but the situation of someone needing a transplant and wondering if they're going to get it, I would let that guy die. Not, it sucks, obviously, but knowing that 5 other families, can continue to grow and
Right.
flourish. Yeah, it sucks that this guy is going to die, but being a part of a family that has gotten the news of a transplant and like hearing the elation in my mom's voice for her brother getting a heart transplant when we didn't know if we were going to get it yesterday, it's overwhelming, and it is like the biggest breath of relief. So I would do it purely because, you know, those 5 families can go on with the rest of their lives without worrying for months on end whether or not they're going to get that transplant.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
yeah.
That is extremely valid.
Your turn.
Yeah, Claire, what do you have to say about it?
I mean, it's a really like unrealistic situation, which would
Like
have.
the trolley was realistic.
I mean, right, but like it would have not conflicts, but what word am I looking for? Consequences, that we're saying wouldn't actually exist
Mm-hmm.
in this hypothetical situation. So I guess if we're looking at it to me purely in like hypothetical, I think 5 lives are more valuable than 1. Yeah.
And that's how you make the decision,
Yeah,
plain
okay.
and simple.
Yeah.
I think you, Zach, and I kind of like settled rather on that, like just basing it off that fact. Like I feel like in a situation like that, you don't have time to really think about it, and you can't just for your own well-being, right? You got to be like, this is this, and this is what I believe, and act on it. Theo has a
Yeah,
little
I
bit
have, like,
different of an point of view, though. So
Yeah,
Right.
I don't know what it's like to be personally affected by it.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me say that as a doctor,
okay,
if I have a Hippocratic oath and I let this guy die to save those people, I'm not only breaking that oath, but also like actively killing a person.
true.
I would accept that. I would live with that in this situation.
That's
Yeah.
the classic
Yeah,
conundrum.
I think whichever choice you make, the person that dies is technically on your hands, just like the trolley situation.
in this,
But
yeah,
I
very
think
specific.
it comes down to if,
I think in
If-
this situation, you can, if I mean, you can stay by the sides of those people who are dying, and it will absolutely suck if they die, but they were going to die anyway.
and so is this guy.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess you've got a point.
See, that's
just-
I have like a 5-step mental checklist that I go through, and I doubt I could ever do that in a live situation, which is why I have trouble sometimes where I stand on some issues. But it's like a 5-step checklist in my head that, it's either 100% or nothing.
Yeah.
And if you don't pass the first question with, the correct answer for one way or the other, if I have doubt at question 1, it's done. I don't question it any further. And if they can't make it all the way up checklist, then that might sound really abstract to you guys, but
A little bit, but I'm with you.
That makes sense.
I'm not gonna say that I don't. I just think we think about it differently, you know.
yeah, in my mind, it's kind of like, is the life of the donor already in danger? Are they in trouble? Are they dying? Are they, will they live if the other people die? And if it's like, no, they'll still die, then it's step 2 is there any other way to go about this? You know, and I work my way one rung up the ladder each time.
Mm-hmm.
And if I get there, that's kind of how my process works, I guess.
So are you saying you got there in this
Yeah.
circumstance? Okay.
Yes, I made it all the way up my ladder. It's not necessarily a 2-step thing. I know I only asked 2 questions,
A
but
step ladder.
yeah, I
Just a
asked probably
stool
the
at
2
that point.
bigger questions, and I made it all the way up, and that's my decision.
I feel like
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say really quick, like I feel like if there was another, like if these people, the 5 people, had like any fighting chance of like receiving organs from like other donors, and this one man wasn't solely the source of these organs, like that would probably change my answer.
Yeah. I mean, it would change mine. No chance I would do it.
Yeah. But
So-
anyway, sorry, just throwing that out there.
It's tough.
I want to give a much shorter variation on the trolley problem.
Okay.
Where it's the same as the first time, except for this time, one of the 5 people is Hitler.
Okay, Hitler now or like will be?
Well, like Hitler circa 41.
He's already done some not good shit at that point. Still, I think run his ass over. Plow
But
through him.
with the other 4 innocent people.
Well, it's not 12 million.
I would still do it.
Okay. So you guys are willing to kill 4 people to kill that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Consciously and actively to save
Yep.
those
Wait,
others.
Yes.
What?
Okay.
What? I didn't say that.
Claire
is
just
not
was
what I
very
said.
confused too. Nah, in a heartbeat.
So you would
I,
kill?
s- I would kill one person to save the 5. I'm
Even
still
if one was
in-
Hitler?
absolutely if one was still Hitler, because then we could convict him for his crimes.
I mean, I'm not gonna say you're right. He's unconscious and tied up right in front of us, but that's besides the point. If I have 5 people lined up on one side of the room and 5 people lined up on the other, and it's shoot all 5 or shoot the one, I'm still gonna do it. Like,
Yeah, and it kind of comes back to my checklist.
yeah,
Like,
if he can still do all the things, you know what I mean?
yeah, you've already, like Ryan said, he's already done some stuff, and like on the scale of Hitler, some is still more than 5. Like, yeah, but if it was like pre-World War II Hitler, like, you know, when he's still a classy art student, then I redirect it to hit the 1, because there's no, I mean, in the moment, you don't know that he's going to go do that.
I
you
guess
know?
that's true. Are we
could-
saying we
you-
know like everything he's gonna do, like from our perspective now?
I think you know.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, then if you know, then I definitely wouldn't redirect it, and
Right.
5 people would die.
If the timeline is no doubt gonna work out exactly how it did, if
Yeah.
you don't, then yeah.
Okay. Now, add to this. The one person, still an innocent guy. Okay, over there.
Chilling.
The 5 people. One is Hitler. The other 4 are members of your own family.
Extended or like my mom?
Like your
answer-
immediate family.
My answer has not changed once.
You're
in
still
this
hitting the
entire
one guy?
variation. Still hitting the one guy.
I think I agree. I think I have agreed the whole time with you.
There we go.
You're not hitting Hitler?
Okay, so
No,
what
absolutely not.
I know
When
you're
you-
not.
you phrased it in a way
Crazy.
that made me think of it a little differently. Of like, this is gonna sound really weird and kind of horrible, but like, if the train's doing it, like you don't feel like it's as much you, but you like talked about like, hey, these people were like standing in front of you, lined up against a wall, and you like had to shoot all 5 of those people, and Hitler being one of them. I don't think I could.
I don't
stand
think
there.
I could, be okay, but I'm okay sacrificing my own well-being for 12 million lives.
Well, Claire, could you watch someone else do it?
That's a good point. That's a
Because
really good
this
way
is-
to put it.
Because
That's
this
kind
is
of
the
what
side
you're
of the
doing.
track that you don't have to do anything.
Right.
You can passively watch
Right, but
versus pulling it to hit the 1. You know what I'm saying?
But then you still have to live with the knowledge that you just let 4 of your immediate family members die in front of your eyes
Correct.
while watching them die.
Correct, but her caveat was she doesn't think she could, and I didn't know if that was continued by pull the trigger or watch them die. You know,
yeah.
that's why it was.
I'm sticking with my 5 lives are more valuable than 1.
Okay.
I don't care who it is.
We talked about like the death penalty not being okay because a human is still a human, and I briefly touched on the subject. Some crimes make them not a human anymore, but I would still no death penalty. In that specific case, I'm definitely trucking over Hitler.
Even your
Beca-
family?
No, okay, that's a little different.
What if I was laying on that train track? You
I'm
running
gonna
me
call
over?
your mom and have her come listen. to
If
this
my
point.
family has lived a long life,
What if I'm laying there? You running me over with Hitler?
no, absolutely not. But
Good answer, Ryan. Good
I'm,
answer.
I gotta really like, if it's just my parents, yeah, my parents would want me to. I know for a fact. That's
Okay,
tough. I wouldn't. I'm
Still
gonna say
weird.
no. I'm hitting that one guy instead of my whole fucking family because that's my whole family. That's more than Zach's immediate family. But like,
It's kind of funny because it's true.
but I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, if it's just 5 random people and Hitler, yeah.
I don't know.
What's
Okay,
supposed to be hard?
So, let's wrap things up real quick.
Casual.
Let's just say our one sentence answer here, or roughly one sentence, is: are there situations where it is okay to kill someone beyond self-preservation? Starting with Claire.
Are we not putting abortion in this topic?
No.
We'll
Try
save
to
that.
avoid it.
Because you can argue whether or not that's killing
That's-
someone. or
That
not. That's
well,
kind of
I'm
the whole-
sure that'll get here.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, can we rephrase or clarify the question? Is it self-preservation, or preservation of life? Because we've
That's
already
being
justified
excluded.
through the last
Preserva-
questions that
preservation
preservation
of
of life. Then yes, But Claire, continue.
Okay, so the question is it ever justified? Like, basically?
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna say no. Period.
Okay,
No
right.
period.
Ryan.
Okay, based on exactly what I think Zach just said, we're under the circumstances of is it ever okay to kill somebody if the preservation of life is a complete non-factor?
Yeah.
No. Period.
Okay, Theo.
Original.
Thanks.
Uh,
Everything changes if it is though, but
Yeah, for sure.
I can't think of a reason as to why you would kill someone besides self-preservation. So,
Mhm.
I guess that's my answer. No, it's not okay to kill someone.
Okay, and Zach.
Outside of self-preservation or preservation of life, no. The only reason to ever kill anybody would be to save another life.
I
Okay.
think I agree.
And I could have phrased that question totally different, but I wanted to make us all sound like good people before we finish this. Thank you all for joining us on the OrangeCast. We will have another episode next week. Remember to like, subscribe. We love you all, and peace out.
Later.